What's good, Warhammer?
No. Why are you counting?
I did.
Boy, it was still skipping like 20 seconds.
It was skipping. It stopped at 9 seconds.
Oop. Kept skipping.
Because that's when it skips when you first hit start. Then it skips when you first hit start for a video. So you gotta hit 9 seconds when it starts. Then when y'all first start a video, it's gonna skip for another.
Okay. What's up, Warhammer gang?
What's up, Warhammer?
Hammer sharks?
No. What's
Hammerhead
up,
sharks?
Warhammers and Warham gals?
No. Hammerhead. Hammerhead. Sorry.
Hammermen.
Mermins.
And ham gal. Yep. And this is Warhammer 40k lore explained for
beginners, because we have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
I need the lore.
Complex and deep lore I've ever seen in anything. It's literally a meme in the community that trying to explain Warhammer quickly is impossible. But I actually think this is something of a rite of passage for Warhammer lore YouTube channels to attempt to explain Warhammer quickly. And so that's what I want to do with this video. I want to do my version of explaining all of Warhammer lore as quickly as possible.
This music is so relaxing.
Okay, so there are a couple of things that I need to establish here before we actually get into what the lore is. The first thing to establish is the character of the Emperor of Mankind. Now, a lot of other fiction has an emperor or a central imperial figure, and Warhammer is no different, but I would argue this character is the coolest out of all the other emperors. A couple of things about the Emperor. Number one, he's a perpetual. This means he's essentially immortal. He began with humanity a long time ago and has been living alongside us for centuries. It's actually recently revealed that he's Alexander the Great, or at least he was Alexander the Great. This is one of his many lives that he had, and he dies and he comes back to life. And so because he is a perpetual, eventually he starts trying to guide humanity towards a better future. Now, the next concept we have to keep in mind is the or the immaterium. In Warhammer, there's another universe that runs parallel to our own, and this is known as the immaterium or the warp. And the warp is many different things. I mean, you could think of it as just a demonic dimension full of chaos gods. It's also a place that characters are able to use to do space travel. It's also a well of crazy powers and ability that allow certain beings in our universe known as psychers to be able to tap into. Most of the crazy witchcraft and powers that you see in 40k are psychers tapping into the warp. And in fact, it's actually explained in the lore of Warhammer that in our modern day, like where we're at right now, a lot of the tales of wizards and witches and magic and a lot of our myths are actually coming from real people that were able to tap into the warp. Okay, next thing we got to establish is the present setting of Warhammer 40,000, because when the game was originally conceived, it was just in the 40th millennia, and there's constant war, and mankind is fighting against the orcs, the Tyranids. But then the lore gets filled in with a lot of stuff that happens leading up to the present day 41st millennia. Currently, the Imperium of Man is a heavily centralized, authoritarian regime. They're brutal, they're fascist, they destroy people that won't worship the emperor, they fight constant wars against other aliens, they take advantage of 5 worlds where most of the humans grow up as essentially slaves, and they mine resources that are then sent to Terra or Earth. The emperor himself is interred upon the golden throne. It's a life-sustaining device that keeps his psychic presence alive. The emperor is also worshipped as a god across the Imperium. The Imperium faces countless threats, both external and internal. Chaos continues to corrupt and wage war. Xenos races pose a constant danger, and the warp itself is still threatening to expand and engulf all of reality. The Space Marines, the kind of guys you always see depicted on Warhammer art are out there the good fight, defending the Imperium from heretics, aliens, and other enemies. But frankly, it's not a good time. It's a really dark, crazy place. The Imperium itself, technically the good guys, but also kind of horrible. But now let's Tarantino this, right? Let's go back in time. How did we get here? Let's first talk about the dark age of technology.
30,000 years ago. The Dark Age, there was no technology, so does this mean there's no technology?
This goes back to the 25th millennia and lasts all the way to the 29th millennia. During this period, humanity made extraordinary advancements in science, technology, and colonization. They developed incredible feats of engineering, interstellar travel, and artificial intelligence. They also discovered the warp and were utilizing the warp in a lot of this technology. They created these warp-capable starships that allowed them to travel across the galaxies. They created terraforming technologies, which also pulled on the power of the warp. And then they made maybe one of the most important things ever, and that is sophisticated AI. So things were going great for humans. Human colonies started spreading throughout the galaxy, and their dominion was massive. But then some bad stuff happened. First thing that happened were these things called the Men of Iron, which were advanced artificial intelligences. Yeah, they became sentient and rebelled, turning against humanity and having a war. This war was known as the War of Devastation, and it resulted in widespread loss of life. The AI rebellion targeted human settlements, infrastructure, and military forces, causing a crazy amount of destruction. Entire worlds were laid waste, and the conflict escalated to crazy cataclysmic proportions. Eventually, humanity did destroy the Men of Iron and win the War of Devastation. But this led to a deep fear and a distrust of advanced artificial intelligence. So as a result, the use of AI and technology was severely restricted, and the Adeptus Mechanicus, the religious and technological organization, emerged to preserve the control of technological knowledge. This is very similar to what happens in the Dune series, where they also had a war with AI and then swear off AI totally. But things didn't just get better after the War of Devastation. In fact, the warp itself started going crazy in the galaxy, probably because of the advancement of all these humans and their emotions.
Do you think that Tom Holland is better than Tim as an actor, just strictly acting?
Tom Holland has better hits as a movie.
Do you think he's a better actor? Not movies, strictly acting. Do you think he's a better actor? No movies and bigger movies, just strictly acting.
He's the. But let me just say, his roles are not hard. Other than Spider-Man, Spider-Man was hard. Timothy's roles are very. It's weird. He gets Johnny Depp roles. So. I feel like he is a good actor. Odd roles. Tom Holland. I didn't watch that one movie though.
So he is a better actor.
Tom Holland, yes.
Upon it, a bunch of warp storms ended up cutting off interstellar travel, and various human civilizations fell into isolation, technological decline, and barbarism. So basically, humans got really advanced technology spread out all throughout the galaxy. Then their AI turned on them. They had a crazy war with AI. The warp itself went bananas, separated all of them, and all these advanced human colonies out there in the galaxy degraded into really barbaric, sometimes feudal states. This era was known as the Age of Strife, and it directly leads into the rise of the Emperor of Mankind and the Great Crusade.
It just sounds like y'all been fighting for years. I don't know who the enemy is.
Yeah, like who are we going to
Who are we fighting against?
Who are we going for?
Yeah, what's the team we should be
The
on?
Emperor of Mankind reveals himself as this powerful psychic being that's been with us forever and is here to help us go into the future. He begins something known as the Great Crusade to reunite humanity and bring order to the galaxy. And then, because
like
the
Roman.
Emperor was also a genetic genius and really good with technology, he creates super soldier beings. It's one of my favorite things about the Emperor of Mankind. He's a lot
the
like
Joker?
Mr. Sinister from the Marvel X-Men books. The first soldiers he creates for himself are the Custodian Guard. They served as his personal protectors and bodyguards, and they were these massive human beings. They were resistant to psychic attacks, damn near perfect in the way that they could fight. They had incredible technology and armor and
Alexander.
weapons. They're damn near perfect, but there was a
Alexander the
problem.
Great.
They were just way too hard to create and to replicate.
They can't
The Emperor
recreate
couldn't
these.
really see himself
These are the
conquering
OGs.
all of the
The
galaxy
highest
with
rank.
custodians. That would just take forever to create that many custodians.
Ooh, they look like
And he
option
created
4.
the Thunder Warriors. The Thunder Warriors were much
Of the
easier to
options you
create
gave
than a
them.
custodian
That was
guard,
like
but they were
option
also
4.
crazy powerful, superhuman warriors. But there was a problem. The Thunder Warriors were unstable. But the Emperor figured they
Thunder
were good
Warriors.
enough to conquer and unify all of Earth or
They're like-
Terra, so
this is like
he took
Khaleesi's
part of what was
people.
known as the Unification Wars. And with the custodians by his side, he and the Thunder Warrior army beat back all of these different warlords that were on Earth. The Emperor conquered all of Earth, but then he had him and his
is like
custodians
American history.
destroy all of the Thunder Warriors.
would not pass.
Next up
If
was the
history was like
creation
this, I
of
would've
the
failed.
Primarchs.
I would've
The
failed.
Emperor
This was
created
history
20
class.
genetically
Now I get it. Like, if other
engineered
people view
beings
history like
infused with
this,
incredible
I
power
get it now.
and leadership. He used some of his own DNA, some of his perpetual baby mama's DNA, and he also
Baby
made some kind of a
mama.
deal with the Chaos Gods
Is this
of
the
the
baby
war.
mama?
It's unclear if he was given a portion of power from Chaos or if he stole a portion of the power of Chaos, but either way, he took some of the
Power of
Chaos power of the
chaos.
warp and infused it into these 20
Power of
Primarchs.
chaos.
But the Chaos Gods, who for now you can just
What?
think of as these demonic beings in the warp that are watching over
What
what's
is
happening in the
that?
material universe. Yeah, they didn't like that he was creating these
Okay, Jon
20
Snow, this is
immortal,
the
godlike,
Winterfell over
chaos
here.
capable beings. And so while these Primarchs were still infants, the Chaos Gods disrupted the Emperor's plans and scattered the Primarchs across the galaxy. However, the Emperor's the
Okay,
gene
this is
seed
Emperor. I
from
get it.
the Primarchs, which is basically just a bunch of their genetic material, and he used the genetic material to create the Space
8
Marine
foot, 7
chapter.
That's you.
And so then
Imperial
the Emperor had all of these different Astartes, all of these different Space Marines that are essentially the
not even
sons
on the list.
of these father Primarchs,
What?
and also they are essentially his own sons being
That's
made of his own gene seed. And then he goes out into the galaxy and he rediscovers each Primarch. Most of the Primarchs have become
Okay.
leaders of their respective domains on the different planets that they crashed on, but they all have unique upbringings, unique cultural
So they're like Greek
influences,
gods.
and also unique abilities
Greek mythology.
of the Warhammer lore, and it allows each one of the Primarchs to have like all kinds of unique attributes, and we're going to get into that, but for this video we'll just kind of leave it there. So after discovering all of the Primarchs and putting them to work
So
to
who's the-
unify
who's the
the
baddest-
rest of the galaxy,
baddest
the
dude?
Emperor
Like,
goes back to Terra
is?
and he begins working on the Webway. Essentially, he's just trying to really perfect space travel through the warp for the entire Imperium. But the Chaos Gods, who remember
No,
were
it's like
keeping a
chaos.
close eye on all of this and
Yeah.
the infant Primarchs,
Oh,
yeah, well, they
yeah.
didn't like what was going on with the
Ew.
Emperor, so they start
What
to
the heck?
corrupt
Literally what
the
If we
Primarchs.
have to fight that,
Horus, who was named
we have
as
to
the
fight
War
that-
Master over all of the Imperium army, was corrupted by the Chaos
Oh
Gods
my gosh.
and
We have to
started
fight
a
that?
rebellion. This is known as the Horus Heresy, and it happens
This
in
reminds me
the
of a scene
30th
we
millennia,
watched.
10,000 years before Warhammer 40k. And even though the rebellion itself
can't wait to play
only
the video.
lasted for
Did we watch
between
this?
7 to 10 years, its ramifications were felt forever, and it is the
Why do you
biggest
need a
part of the
team if
Warhammer
you're
lore.
this?
Horus gets about
Why don't you
half
just
of the
fly?
Primarchs to flip to his side, and there's this crazy
So
big
nice.
civil war, a lot of devastation, some chapters of Space Marine almost being wiped out completely. Are killed, and it all culminates with a crazy battle between the Emperor and Horus himself. Horus is juiced up to the gills with a bunch of chaos god energy, and the Emperor is the Emperor.
This
And so they're
sounds like
fighting.
hell.
The Emperor doesn't want to kill Horus because he still kind of thinks of him as a son.
Like, what is
Horus
going
is
on?
taking a lot of shots at the Emperor,
There's
like
never
really
peace.
doing some serious damage to him. And then something flips in the Emperor. He decides Horus is no good, and he does a Kamehameha wave attack that not only destroys
Kamehameha
all
wave.
of Horus's body, but it actually destroys his very soul. Most of the time in Warhammer, especially if you're a Primarch, you can
World.
the physical form, but your soul will go
How do
in
y'all be keeping
warp
up
and
with, like, you know, who is who, or do y'all? Or is it just in fight? But that's gonna do it. This video is gonna be called "Still Confused."
But hopefully after we play the game, we
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be fun. I honestly think the gameplay looks fun, but the lore is just too deep to dive into. I don't understand how you guys do it.
yeah.
But congrats and kudos.
So
Warhammer gang, we out gang.
Warhammer means Warhammer gals.